Assalamualaikum and a very good day. We continue the artificial intelligence class with last chapter, which is Introduction to Deep Learning and Convolutional Neural Network for Image Classification. Okay, this is the outline for this chapter. Introduction. I will talk about the introduction of deep learning and artificial intelligence. Of course, we will not highlight on or emphasize more on artificial and intelligence anymore, because that it have been covered in the earlier chapter in these courses. Just describe a little bit about the definition of deep learning, and then we will discuss about the most common deep learning, which is CNN. Of course, deep learning, there's a lot of approach that is under deep learning, but in this course we only cover a convolutional neural network, or CNN, and then we will talk and discuss more about the CNN, which is related to the previous chapter that we have learned in this course. And then the last part we will only, because CNN, we have a lot of well-established model in CNN. One of it is one of the earliest when well-established CNN is called AlexNet, and then we all in this course we only discuss about the AlexNet. Of course, there's a more recent well-established CNN model in research recently, but in this course we only cover the first well-established CNN, which is called AlexNet, because currently we also have a lot of CNN models such as GoogleNet, VGG16, VGG19. If you refer to many books, they talk about that, but we only cover the one of the well-established CNN model, which is called AlexNet. Okay, and I think forget to put in this slide is that the last topic should be, I will discuss about how to apply CNN using MATLAB. Okay, because that is also needed for you to do your mini project related to deep learning or related to CNN. Okay, introduction to deep learning and AI. So what is deep learning? Again, deep learning is a one of the or is a sub approach in machine learning. Okay, it's a machine learning technique that teach a computer to do what's come naturally to human, and it's learned by examples, meaning that of course, what is the definition of machine learning? Machine learning is a capability of machine to learn by example that is similar to deep learning. Actually, it's similar because the big area is, or the big thing is a machine learning is a big things, and then the conventional machine learning that you learn, like the one that you learn in the earlier chapter, like regression, that is under machine learning. Linear model for classification, linear model for regression, that is in machine learning. And then what you learned before, artificial neural network, is also machine learning. But deep learning is a part of machine learning where actually the technique is a little bit deep. That's why they call it deep learnings. Okay, means that the learning process is deep as compared the conventional approach. So that's why they try to differentiate or try to make a border, which one can classify as a deep learning, which one is can classify as only machine learning. Means that that's why the definition there is almost similar. Doesn't matter deep learning or machine learning, because deep learning is a machine learning, but the process of learning is more deep. And deep learning is a technique, is a key technology behind the drive. Of course, this is some of the example that we have so far see today. The progress or the benefit of deep learning in our life, where we can see some technology behind, some technology that related to driverless car, and then enabling them to recognize the stop sign, to distinguish the pedestrian. Okay, this is what have been contributed by deep learning. Because of deep learning, we can have a driverless car, because the driverless car, of course, to make a driverless car, you need to have artificial driver. Okay, artificial driver. So of course, when we talk about the artificial driver, what is the attribute that need to have in artificial driver? Of course, you must know, if you drive, what is the important sensor to be used in driving. So of course, you should have you need to use your eyes, and then you need to use your ears to hear the sound. You need to use your eyes to see, and then you need to use your leg to push the whether to press the brake or to press the acceleration. So that's why from there you can see that one of the important attribute there is eyes. So that's why in order to replace that part, you need to have some sort like a software that can automatically, the input is the image or the view of the environment of that car, of the driver view, and then you have a software that have capability to interpret that video, to recognize which one is road, which one is tree, and so on, which one is obstacle. So then you can know where to stop, where to move the car, and so on. So that's why that is where the deep learning is very beneficial in interpreting the video. Based on the input is video or image, it can recognize or interpret that video before they can do some action, whether to brake or whether to do some acceleration. Okay, and then deep learning is also a key. Okay, it's a key to voice control in consumer device. Of course, if you see today, there's your handphone, you have I forget the name of the technology inside it, because I forgot. The iOS have their own voice recognition, and the Android also have their own voice recognition, and that is actually behind it is a deep learning. Okay, the input is a speech, and then by using deep learning, your phone be able to recognize to interpret the signal of your voice, and then to change it into text, and then it will pass to the any process that you want. Okay, I think in Waze also you can do that. Okay, if you try to apply the Waze, you open your Waze. If you very lazy to type, let's say you go for searching place, if you don't want, very lazy to type the place that you want to go, you just use the voice tools there. You just say which place you want to go, and it's very intelligent to recognize your voice and translate into text. I try many times, and it's good. So that is also one of the technology that inside the ways where they apply the deep learnings. Okay, and then in deep learning, a computer model learn to perform classification directly from image, text, and sound. So that is one of the biggest things that differentiate between deep learning and the other conventional machine learning. Because deep learning, the best part is the input is a raw data. Doesn't matter you want to apply it for image classification or image interpretation, or you want to apply in the text where the input is raw data, which is the text itself, and then deep learning be able to interpret the text. Okay, and then speak about the sound, which this one is related to speech processing, where, like I said before, you give the voice, and then the deep learning managed to interpret that voice signal into text. So the input is a raw data, means that if you are passing the exactly raw data of your voice, and then deep learning interpret and classify that into text. Same as image, the input is the raw data of image, then the deep learning be able to interpret or classify it into what you want in your application. So that is different thing. That is that is how we differentiate between deep learning and conventional machine learning. Later we'll discuss that things again, if you still not sure about it. Okay, deep learning model can achieve state of art accuracy, sometimes exceeding the human level performance. Okay, if you search for deep learning, you can see the progress there, because I think in 2011 or 2012, where the deep learning start to become popular in the area of artificial intelligence, because you can see that at that time, when they introduce this learning, and they don't introduce the learning, deep learning actually is an old technique, but because of the rapid progression in computing technology, because your computer or your machine become more and more fast, very fast as before, then that old technology can be implemented in computer, because previously when we don't have a very high speed computer, what they can have is just a mathematical model. They cannot implement this model into practical. So the model is just a model which is cannot be execute. So but during our time, when we have very high speed computer, they try this old technique, they find out that okay, deep learning can be implemented today. So and it show that it's outperform the conventional machine learning in doing their job. Doesn't matter is it in category of the input is image, the input is text, or the input is sound. So it outperform the rest. I mean, it outperform all other conventional method in these three area. Okay, this is the pictures that again show where actually deep learning is it. Okay, you can see that the big thing is AI, and then what we have learned in these courses is more focused on machine learning. Okay, we have other things, that other technique. Again, we have another technique which is not machine learning, but we don't cover in our syllabus. We only focus on machine learning, because the purpose is that why we focus on machine learning is because recently deep learning is the things that make AI so popular today. So that's why it is important for us to only focus on the approach in AI which can make you learn something which is towards deep learning. So that's why in the first chapter we talk about linear model for regression and linear model for classification. That is actually under machine learning. And then in the previous chapter also we'll talk about artificial neural network. That is under machine learning, and they are actually connected together. Before we start this chapter, which is deep learning, okay, actually is related. So that's why instead, because you can see in this list there, even there's a lot of technique, but we skip many technique because we only emphasize on the one that can make you understand deep learning. Because from the linear regression or linear model for regression or linear model for classification, and then we at the next chapter we talk about artificial neural network, and then we end up with deep learning, which is focused on CNN only. So actually this thing is related. Okay, so if you like I said before, in what we have learned so far is the first one is okay, when the earlier chapter, when you have been introduced with linear model for classification or linear model for regression, and then after that we talk about artificial neural network. Okay, and I already tell you that one single neuron actually it can be represented by linear logistic regression. So that's mean at the earlier chapter we only learn something we can consider as a very weak machine learning. Once that is actually represent only one single neurons, and then during the artificial neural network chapter we realized that that function is only one single unit neuron, can be represented in one single unit neuron. Actually, artificial neural network is more than that, because you are connecting multiple network together to solve a complex problem. So because you are extending that function and cascading that function with connecting multiple neuron to solve a complex problem. And of course, if you talk about cascading multiple neuron, that is actually can represent a complex functions. Okay, it means that you generating a complex function. And then, and this chapter again is related to ANN, because during the ANN we only talk about maybe multi-layer perceptron. It's a multi-layer perceptron, but we only focus on maybe a few hidden layer, just single hidden layer. But in deep learning, when we talk about the deep learning, okay, what is the how to differentiate between deep learning and the artificial neural network that you learned before, is that deep learning will have more and more hidden layer. So if you have a network which have many hidden layer, that is can considered as a deep learning. Okay, just don't confuse between the definition there, because actually we need to use the word deep neural network. Okay, deep neural network, when you have many hidden layer in your artificial neural network, that is called as a deep neural network. And deep neural network itself is a deep learning. So I don't want you to confuse with the term what is different between deep learning and deep neural network. Actually, if you refer to some resources, actually we cannot say deep learning is similar to deep neural network, because deep learning, and it should be deep neural network is one example approach of deep learning. Deep learning is something, this is just a term that used to identify or to know, to show that your computer learning process is very deep. Okay, deep learning, if you refer to, this is my, I think based on my reading, I find out, I can consider this is my opinion. Okay, deep learning, okay, I have find that so many books show that when they talk about deep learning, actually it's refer to deep neural network. Okay, deep neural network. So in our syllabus we also do the same, meaning that what is the meaning by deep learning is refer to deep neural network. Okay, meaning that what is the deep neural network? If you have a artificial neural network with multiple or many hidden layer. Okay, that is in these courses we will use this definition, meaning that if I talk about deep learning, it's refer to deep neural network, which is what is the meaning by deep neural network? It is actually deep ANN, artificial neural network with multiple or many hidden layer. Okay, so that's why I think in MATLAB also they consider the artificial neural network that we learned in the previous chapter as what? As shallow neural network. The previous one is called shallow neural network. The current one is called deep neural network. Okay, so just that don't confuse with that term actually, because even during my time there's no deep learning. We that's why I use the word here, shallow neural network. In actually is refer to the previous chapter, ANN. Okay, so that's why I'm using this term in the previous chapter, because when I learned AI during my undergraduate time, we don't have deep learning, so we call that is an artificial neural network. But now it has been changed into this term, with its shallow neural network, just to differentiate between deep learning and a deep neural network and shallow neural network. Okay, just give you a little bit more information about the deep learning here. Okay, like I said before, in some source they don't I see that many sources use this definition, meaning that when they discuss about deep learning, it's referred to deep neural network, neural network. But actually, in some sources we cannot say that when you talk about deep learning is referred to deep neural network, because of course biologically, deep neural network is one approach, or one example approach, which is under deep learning. Okay, but you cannot say when you say deep learning is actually a deep neural network. It should be deep learning is just a type of approach, where inside it should have one of the examples should have deep neural network. So that's why if you see in this slide, okay, when I put deep learnings there, when I put the examples there, I don't just put CNN, I also put some of the approach which is not CNN. Okay, CNN can be considered as a deep neural network, one of the common deep neural network approach. But like LSTM and DBN is also deep, one of the approach in deep neural network. LSTM, is it a deep neural network? Yes, it's still a deep neural network. But what I want to stress on is that, okay, if you remember, machine learning actually can be categorized into three. One is supervised, and then you will have unsupervised, and then the one that the more advanced and a little bit complicated is reinforcement learning. Okay, the one, okay, each and every category here, okay, the one that you see over here, okay, A and N is a supervised, Bayesian is a supervised, K nearest neighbor is supervised learning, SVM is supervised learning, decision tree is supervised learning, random forest is supervised learning, K-means, only K-means is unsupervised learning. Okay, in as a machine learning category there. Okay, only K-means is not supervised learning. Is K-means is unsupervised learning. The rest is supervised learning. So, but deep neural network is extended from the A and N. Okay, when they extend the A and N into deep neural network, then that deep neural network is a machine learning that can be categorized under deep learning. But that does not mean the other machine learning don't have a deep learning, because if you I don't know, maybe one day if you are interested in do research in AI, you will realize that in some research paper they also have inside the reinforcement learning, you also have deep learning. Because I read some of the journal, they mention about deep learning under reinforcement learning. They call it deep reinforcement learning. Okay, of course you can, if you interested in reinforcement learning, then you need to find out what actually differentiate between the convolutional reinforcement learning and the deep reinforcement learning. Same go to the unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning, the one that we have in the example is only K means, but that does not mean they don't have a deep learning here, because I find out that some books they also have a deep unsupervised learning. So from here you can see that each and every category of machine learning have their own way to extend their architecture that can be categorized under deep learning. Okay, so that's will make you a little bit confused, because you can see that that's mean in general we cannot conclude that deep learning is just a supervised learning, because you can see that in this category, the one that has extend here, this technique and this technique, is actually a supervised learning. It's not other type, which is unsupervised and reinforcement. But if you refer to many book, when they talk about deep learning, they only refer to the one that is under supervised learning. Okay, so some books don't. That why is that happen? It might be the supervised learning dominates the deep learning approach. Mean that deep learning approach in supervised learning dominate the deep learning existent, because you can see that anything that happen today, when you apply the deep learning, that is refer to the one is under supervised learning. Okay, so the one anything that the one that I give in the examples there in this slide. Okay, when you apply to classify the task, okay, the word classification task meaning that it's a supervised learning. So that's why when we talk about deep learning, or we are more discussing on the supervised learning, the supervised learning, the approach is under the approach which is under supervised learning. Okay, but that does not mean deep learning only inside the supervised learning, because now that approach is dominate the deep learning, because that is the one that make the AI very so popular today. Okay, but if you want to see what is the one of the example of deep learning in reinforcement learning, is the one that, if you remember, the computer that managed to beat human in AlphaGo competition. Okay, that is using deep reinforcement learning. It's not using deep learning under supervised learning. It's under reinforcement learning. So that is one of the example. But what we have used today, what is very so popular today, is more on the deep learning under supervised learning. So in our syllabus, we also use the same definition, meaning that when I say deep learning, is refer to deep neural network, which is a artificial neural network with multiple or many hidden layer. And one of the popular deep neural network that we'll discuss in our class is CNN. Okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, we are using this definition, because there's I find out there's a two source there. If you Google the deep learning, in some books they only talk about this one, but in some other books they talk about the whole things there. Means that deep learning is not just this one, but all things, including the supervised learning and reinforcement learning.